Alright everyone, what is up? It's your boy Gain Sasuke here, back at it again with another new spanking hot what if video. And today, I bring to you part 2 of what if Deku was the reincarnation of Gunter. So, where we last left off, Deku would have been auctioned off to two people. However, one of them would have been way much richer than, and would be assumed at first. As this person would basically knock out the other person who was auctioning, and who was trying to get Deku, which was Midnight. By the way, you guys tell me in the comments, do you want me to put the Ice Queen in here? Just tell me yes or no, or maybe meh. Your decision. Okay, as well, we left off with a girl in white hair speeding off in a limo, with Deku laying down unconscious right beside her, and Midnight unconscious in the limo's trunk. As well, we see basically, we see a crowd, and we see a limo zooming at very fast and very unnatural speeds, as it then stops right in front of what appears to be a mansion. As there was then a voice saying, "Name," and she then, as Sasha then says, "Sasha Midoriya." As then the device begins blinking and making all of these weird noises, as then the door immediately right underneath, and as the gate instantly is lifted up, revealing a underground passageway, as the intercom then says, "Welcome home, Mistress Midoriya." And welcome home, Mistress Sasha. As the limo then drives underneath into this passageway, revealing what appears to be an entire skyscraper, or an entire city underground. Basically like an entire friggin' Batman base. Or like Wakanda. As she then says, alright, in the trunk there is the pro hero Midnight. Bring her to... Oh, by the way, Sasha looks like this. Forgot to show you guys that in the last video. As Sasha would then say, bring the girl, and bring Midnight, who's in the trunk, to the, to the playroom, and bring the male. I do not know his name yet, but I will soon. Bring him to my private suite, and bring him to my private master bedroom. As they would then say, yes, mistress. As suddenly two females with strength quirks would basically open the trunk and carry Midnight away to a playroom of sorts, where Sasha likes to break her toys into obedience and submission. As Sasha would then say, "Kirigiri, if you may, please teleport him onto the master bed. As she'd then say, "Of course, mistress." As Kirigiri would then hold out her palm as a portal made of black and a black and purple warp gate would appear right in front of, right underneath Izuku. As she would then say, now, if anyone needs me, I'll be in the dressing room finding a good outfit." As of course she finds a black and white dress. As we go to Deku, who basically is just waking up. As Deku looks around, seeing he's in some sort of fancy mansion-like room, or some sort of fancy rich person room. As Deku just says, "Huh? Where am I?" As he then says, "What happened?" As he then sees a girl walk into the room, or a woman walk into the room. As, by the way, some people were wondering, like, listen, we get the fact that he's immortal, so age won't really be a thing, a problem for him, but, question is, how old is All For One? Because it would still be weird if she was 700. I am glad to inform you no. In this AU, I'm de-aging her significantly. Even though she does have an immortality quirk, I'm de-aging her. Okay? Because some people are like, she's way too old. Okay? So. Oh, she will be 23 in this AU, okay? Well, no. Because that would not mix well with the timelines, so she is 37, okay? Good. As well, we see Sasha Midoriya basically enter the room as Deku then says, "Who are you? Where am I? What's going on?" As she then says, "Do not worry, you boy. I am not your enemy. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. You see, while most women would pay large amounts of money just to own you as some sort of slave, I paid a lot of money to bring you to my home." As she would then say, "Allow me to explain or introduce myself. I am the world-famous Sasha Midoriya. As, allow me to explain the type of money the Midoriya family packs. Imagine the Yaoyorozu money times 100, okay? So yeah, it's a lot of money. As they're the single richest family in the world. Basically, instead of money making the world go round, it's the Midoriyas that make the world go round. or the Midoriya, as Sasha is the only Midoriya left. As I have explained, she has the quirk of immortality, which, fun fact about being immortal, after you reach a age that you want to stay as for all of eternity, you will basically still look like that. Think about it like this. What age do you think she is? If any of you say 13 or lower, I will slap you. She is 18 in this photo. Okay? So, get that out of your pedo minds, okay? Jeez. Now, Sasha would then say, you see, I do not want to use you as a slave or take your power. In fact, all I want is just two simple things. One, for you to make one wish. And two, well, the second one will come into play much later. I should then say, the wish I want you to make is just simple. Ask for it. I want you to wish for immortality. As Deku, being, 4 years old at this time, would then say, what's immortality? I should then say, immortality is the power to defy age and time itself. The power to not die of age, harm, sickness, or anything. Basically, when one is given full immortality, that just gives them infinite life. Basically, when one immortal crosses over to the power level of the gods, as she would then say, all I wish for you, boy, all I want of you, boy, right now, is to simply just wish that all of that aging away. Just wish for immortality. As he then say, okay. By the way, you all might be wondering. So, question, how exactly does this work? Well, when the person gains the immortality in this AU, when a person gains immortality, they will stay at the age of when they gain that immortality. So, yeah. Deku is going to look like this for all of his adorable immortal life. As Deku would then say, okay. As he would then say, I wish to be immortal. I wish to be fully immortal. As suddenly, the eye would begin to glow, as Deku would then feel much stronger, as if chains had just been lifted or an anvil was just taken off his back. As Deku would be able to move a lot faster, he'd be stronger, smarter, and many other things. Now y'all might be wondering, wait, why is all this happening? Well, allow me to explain. Deku is getting smarter because, with age, and when mortals age, their minds decay over and over and over. Now, since he's a child, he's obviously gaining the intelligence of a million year old. As Deku is getting stronger because, well, his muscles have fully developed in mere instance. Basically, imagine. And faster because of the same reasons. But he still looks like this. Just adorable. I know. As Deku would then say, thank you, Miss, As Deku would then say in a intelligent and fancy voice, thank you, Miss, as she would then say, Sasha Midoriya. As he'd then say, thank you, Miss Midoriya. Now, what was the second thing you wanted to ask of me? I should then say, I'll ask you that in 10 years. Is that okay? As Deku would then say, absolutely. I should then say, good. Now, you aren't now. As for your other questions, where are you? You're at your new home. As you can see, it's a giant mansion. However, I have one strict rule. Don't leave the mansion, and don't leave the mansion, okay? As Deku is on the top side mansion, as Midnight is at the bottom part, is basically on the Wakanda-like part. As Deku then says, okay, I'm pretty sure I won't break any of those rules. I should then say, good. Now, would you like something to eat? As he then say, yes, please. I should then say, what would you like? As he would then say, some katsudon? I should then say, well, I don't have any ingredients for that right now, but I think you could make it instantly. As he'd then say, oh yeah. As Deku would then chuckle, as he'd then say, I wish for katsudon, as a bowl of katsudon would appear and a plate of katsudon would appear right in front of Deku. As she would then say, if you need anything that you can't wish for, just call me. And just wish for me to appear. Okay? After all, you quite literally do have infinite wishes. Isn't that right? As Deku would then say, yep. I should say, good. Now I'll see you later. As he would then say, oh, I forgot to ask one last question. What's your name? As Deku would then say, Izuku. And she would then say, see you later, Izuku. As she would then walk away. As she would walk out of the room, as she would basically would walk outside of the mansion. As she would then open a small hatch. Hold on. and she would then open a small hatch and walk through it. As she would then enter a room where we see Midnight chained onto a bed. And she would then say, "So, you're finally awake. Well then, I guess the fun can begin." And she would then say, "Don't worry, if you're if you're cooperative, then maybe I'll let you, and then maybe one of these days, I'll let you be upstairs with me and Izu." I should then say, "Oh, by the way, the boy's name is Izuku. Well, in about 10 years, I'll change that name to Izuku Midoriya." Yeah, he will enjoy being my husband for all of eternity. We will be the strongest people on this world. And if we want to, we will rule this world. As she would then chuckle. As she would then say, "But right now all I care about is just winning him over." As she would then say, "Now it's time to teach you some manners." As she would then say, as we skip a couple hours later, and we skip to the next day, as we see Deku basically sitting in this room looking like an adorable bean, as he then morphs into a penguin. As Deku then says, "Wah, wah, 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 wah," basically saying, "I wish for snow, and I wish to create and control snow." As suddenly a giant mountain of snow appears right in front of Deku. As he then says, and as he then basically moves the snow around into a giant hill. As Deku then basically goes onto the top of the hill and begins sliding down, and rolling down the hill, basically like an adorable little penguin. As well, little does Deku know that in the corner there's a small security camera, basically watching and recording everything he's doing. And what do I mean by recording? Basically recording everything he's doing and putting it onto memorabilia tapes. These memorabilia tapes will basically be used for Sasha if she ever feels sad. If Sasha ever feels sad, she will 1,000% go to one of these tapes. As Sasha would, as we see Sasha basically walk. And as we see Sasha walking out of the shadows, watching the tapes, as she then says, "My God, so adorable." He is so cute. I just want to pinch his little blushy penguin cheeks. As she then says, "Oh well, back to playing." As she then walks out of the security room and back to the lower part and back to her playroom. As we go back to Deku, who basically is just going up and down this hill he's created, as he then wishes for the power to create and control ice. It then creates ice and makes it into a statue of himself. As Deku then says, I wish for both of these powers to be held inside of a easy and accessible device. As Deku then, as a crown is then just plopped on Deku's head. As Deku just says, wah wah. As he puts on the crown, basically goes into his humane form and begins playing around, making ice sculptures around the mansion that never melt, and making it snow, creating snow penguins, sliding around the snow, basically having a fun time. As we skip 1 year, Deku would be enjoying his life in this mansion of sorts, as most of the time, Sasha would be right beside Deku and would talk to him, play with him, and, basically have fun with him, as Deku would basically control the elements and would control ice and snow and would, create some things that he liked. As one day, there was a knock on the mansion. As Sasha would walk down to the bottom, to the main door, I should say, yes. As we see female All Might or Toshinara Yagi. As Toshinora then says, excuse me, miss, but, we would like to ask you some questions. One of the pro heroes, Midnight, has been missing for a year, and we want to know if you have anything to say. After all, our sources say that you were at an auction a year ago for a male, for the first male with the quirk. As she would then say, yep. Midnight, let's see. Ah, yes. She was a really nice girl. Of course, she was moaning and groaning a lot of the time. But eventually, she was able to be calmed down into a much more favorable position, and into a much more favorable personality. As she would then snap her fingers, as suddenly butlers and maids would walk out, as we see a maid with black hair with purple streaks in it and blue eyes. As she then says, Amelia, please. And as she then says, Amelia, please show these guests to the, please show Miss Toshinora to the exit. After all, this is the entrance. Please show her to the exit, okay? As the maid, who now goes by Amelia, would then say, "Yes, mistress." Now, of course, I know her name is actually Namori, or Namuri. I cannot remember as all hell. I think it's Namori. As the maid named Amelia would basically walk Toshinora to the opposite side of the mansion. As she would then say, "Have a good drive home, and please do not return." As Toshinora would leave, as the slave, and as the maid known as Amelia would then walk back over to Sasha, as she would then say, "Sorry about that, mistress. Now, where were we?" As she'd then say, "Yes, my pet. Now, you only have 5 minutes, okay?" As she would then basically take off one small part of, and she basically would open a small hole in her clothing, revealing a boob, and revealing one of her nipples. As she would then say, "You get 5 minutes to suck, and you get 5 minutes this time. I'm because you were good." As she would then say, "Thank you, mistress." As we go back to Deku. Hold on. As we see a girl, and as we see Deku basically inside of his room, like normal, as Deku is experimenting with blue fire. As well, Deku is basically trying to coat his body with blue fire without wishing for it. As he then says, "Drat." As Deku then says, "I wish for the ability to ignite my body with blue flames, both in my penguin form and human form." As suddenly, Deku would basically concentrate, as his whole body would be lit ablaze with blue fire. As he would then turn to his penguin form and do the same thing. As Deku would then say, "Yes, success." As he would just waddle around the room excitedly, as he basically would speak penguin, going wah 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 wah. As we see Sasha basically enter the room, as she would then say, "Hey, Izuku. Now, would you like to would you like to go on a walk with me?" I should then say sure. And as he would then say sure. As the two would basically walk out of the area, out of the mansion, and would begin walking around the mansion. As Sasha would then, and as Deku would then say, "Hey, Sasha." And she'd then say, "Yes, Izu." As Deku would then say, in a couple of years, can I go outside?" As she'd say, "Alright, fine. But only if you accept something I'm going to ask you in a couple. The same thing I'm going to ask you in a couple of years." I should say, when you're 14, I will ask it. And if you answer, and if you say yes, you'll be able to go out. If not, I'll just have to keep you here until you say yes. As Deku would then say, okay. As he would then basically waddle right beside her. As she would then say, hey Izu, would you like to look at this, at the sunrise and at the sunset with me? As he would then say, sure. As the two would look over a beautiful setting sky. As the two would look over a beautiful setting sky and settings, a beautiful sunset, as suddenly out of nowhere, we see a blast of ice appear. As we see a woman walk out of the ice. And that's where I'm at. Out of blue mist with a malicious smile as she then says, finally, I found you. And that's where I'm ending this part off. Hope y'all have enjoyed part 2 of What If Deku Was, the reincarnation of Gunter. Hope you all hope y'all enjoyed. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And, goodbye.